Express will go mute, correct?
Yes, please.
Steve, go ahead and introduce yourself because my first slide is actually a little introduction of me.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm Steve Tingiris. I'm a serial entrepreneur working on my fourth venture. Currently, ProspectSmarter is the company, and we develop software for supporting salespeople to help them connect with the smallest segment of their market that represents the best possible potential.
Steve is also part of Wave. He's one of the original members, and he's also on the Wave board.
Yeah.
So my name's Geoff Wilson. I'm the president of a company called 352 Media Group. We're a digital agency, which means that we create websites and software and marketing campaigns. And we are actually headquartered up the road in Gainesville, Florida, where we have about 40 people. But we also have an office in Tampa where we have 12 people and an office up in Atlanta as well. So I'm going to start by doing a quick, I've got two presentations I'm going to do today. Both are going to take about 15 minutes, and I'll be happy to take questions after each of them. My first is kind of a general presentation on entrepreneurial tips, but a lot of the tips are marketing related. So I thought that it would be a good way to start. So just a little bit of a further introduction on me. I grew up with a passion for computers and video games, as I'm sure many of you guys did. Frankly, I was a bit of a nerd in high school and you know, that type of thing, which is fine because, as you'll probably learn if you haven't already, all of the nerds in high school are the ones who make a lot of money when they get older. So I'm kind of proud of that. And I actually started my first entrepreneurial venture took place when I was in high school. I actually started a computer store, or a kiosk, which then turned into a store, in a mall in Sarasota, Florida. So this is my senior year of high school, where a buddy of mine and I started this computer store we call Beyond Reality. When I got up to college at the University of Florida, I couldn't keep doing the computer store because obviously I couldn't physically be in Sarasota anymore, but I started a web design company. Originally we called it Spider Web Page Creation. It later became 352 Media Group, which is the company that we're running today. So this photo is from about, that photo, gosh, would have been 16 years ago now, right when we were starting the company. And we were advertising, you know, websites and doing, you know, doing that type of thing. So this is back when we were just kind of growing. This is, I think, 2001. And so this is actually our team's a little bit bigger than this today, but this is our photo from our company meeting a couple of years ago. So it shows you how our team's grown over time, and it's been a lot of fun. Along the way, I also opened up, I've been involved in some other ventures as well. I also opened up a series of Ben & Jerry's ice cream stores. Ended up actually selling one off and closing two. So I had a combination of some success and some failure along the way there. And also started some other interesting ventures, such as a online virtual world for kids called Play Action Online Kids Camp, where we went around and got prominent football coaches such as Pete Carroll and Steve Spurrier and teamed up with them to create online kids games. And also Social News Desk, which is a social media management platform for newsrooms and journalists. So been involved in a variety of different types of businesses, and from that experience comes some of the tips that I'm going to give you here. So these are 10 things that I've learned over time, and hopefully things that you guys will find helpful as you're going on your own adventure. So my first tip is, when starting, less is always more. And what I mean by this is the fact that that some of you are probably bootstrapping your businesses, you don't have big venture capitalists behind you at this point. That's fine. That's good, because it actually forces you to make healthier business decisions and more strategic business decisions. I feel a lot of companies that go out and get a bunch of venture capital finance at the beginning, they throw money away, they burn money before they know what's really working for them, before they really know how to make profit. So I think, you know, that was obvious through the whole .com crash that that was happening to a large extent, obviously, and it still happens today. I think that to be smart with money, the smarter way to approach money with your business is to get a minimum viable product out with as little money as possible, to try to market it with as little money as possible, to get consumer feedback, and then wait until the time that you're really starting to have some commercial success, and then invest that money to really fuel the venture. I'm sure this is stuff you guys have already been talking about in prior sessions, but I think it's an important tip to start on. So number 2 gets a little bit into the marketing side, and that is discover and embrace your why. Now, there's a very popular speaker called Simon Sinek. He wrote a book called Start With Why. If you have not seen any of Simon Sinek's videos, I would highly recommend, after today's session is over, go to YouTube and search for Simon Sinek. His videos are outstanding, and his book is outstanding as well. And he really talks about how the best businesses really could connect with the hearts and souls of their customer by having purpose behind their business and really trying to connect on a why level, as opposed to focusing on what they do or how they do it. And he cites examples like Apple and Harley Davidson, which really market this way. It's really good stuff, and I believe that it's really important when you're marketing your own business to talk about really what you stand for on a deeper level, not just what you do or how you do it, but why you do what you do and what you believe in. And I believe that if you talk about what you believe, that it will help others better connect with you and understand your vision for what you're doing. So, one of the comparisons he gives is the difference between, Apple's success with their iPod music player and Dell, who tried to come out with a music player of their own and had a complete lack of success. And he compares and contrasts the marketing of the two companies. So definitely worth a watch. Number 3 is to find a niche. I strongly believe that, especially as an entrepreneur starting out, you're going to have your greatest chance of success if you can create a product that is more niche to a specific market, rather than trying to be something that is really more oriented towards the mass consumer. And that doesn't mean that mass consumer stuff is bad. It just means that you're really swinging for the fences more if you're going for a mass consumer, and your play and your success probability is going to be lower. Whereas if you find a nice target niche, you're going to have a greater chance of success. Part of the reason for this is that you can more easily market to a niche audience. If you have a very well-defined target audience, it's easier for you to market to that group of people, whether it be through direct forms of advertising or business development, reaching out to them through cold calling or emailing or trying to get introductions to them, or whether it be going to trade shows that they go to, or doing web advertising targeted at them, or trying to target them through social media. Whatever that may be, it's a lot easier to do that if you have a very niche target that you're going after, versus trying to just appeal to consumers as a whole. Facebook, everybody loves Facebook and says, well, that's a great product that's really made it with consumers as a whole. But I would actually tell you that when Facebook came out, it was a niche product. Facebook's first version targeted only college students and only students at the University of Harvard. And that is a very niche group. And then their expansion strategy was to go from college to college. They didn't open up to every single college in the world all at one time. They actually went from college to college launching Facebook. And as a result, they had a particular niche group of people they were able to relaunch their product to each time. So, and that type of niche strategy, if executed successfully, can build you into a global company, but they started off being very niche. Groupon is actually the same way. Groupon was niched by geography. Groupon launched to a specific city to start with, and then started to expand to other cities before they went national. And that allowed them, again, to have a niche. If Groupon just tried to launch national on day one, it would have never worked, because they didn't have the following, they didn't have the amount of retailers on board and the amount of users on board to be successful. But because they made themselves successful in one market and then started to go to other markets and allow them to be successful. So I think finding a niche is an important part of marketing. And there's other examples you can compare that with as well. My number 4 entrepreneurial tip: find people who hate your ideas. It's very easy when you're an entrepreneur and you come up with some new idea to get a lot of friends and family telling you how great of an idea it is. And frankly, no one's doing you any service by telling you how great of an idea your idea is. What you really need to find is people who tell you your idea is bad. Go find the Scrooges who tell you why your idea is not going to make it in the marketplace, because those people are actually people you should listen to and take their feedback so that you can then make your idea and your concept stronger as a result of getting that type of feedback. My number 5 tip was being small can be a good thing, but look polished. So I'm a big believer that looking polished as an entrepreneur is very important. You have to really look the part. Being small can work to your advantage, because especially if you're working in like a business-to-business type of environment, because a lot of larger companies like to work with small companies because they see small companies as more nimble and innovative than they are. So there's actually advantage to being small, but you really have to look the part. So you have to have a really good brand, a really crisp image. You have to make sure that every communication that you're putting out there is well crafted and well put together to really look the part. I use this as an example because we actually won, my company won a very large contract from Wells Fargo, and one of the things that Wells Fargo told us later that they really liked about us was the fact that we were small and that we could be nimble and innovative and help them be more that way by them working with us, as opposed to them going out and working with another large company. Number 6 is a little bit along those lines. Get into the clubs where the models hang out. Now, what I mean by this is there's a great episode of Seinfeld that I love where George, one of my favorite characters, decides that he wants to date a model. And so his strategy for dating a model is that he is going to take a photo of another model and put it in his wallet, and then he gets invited to this party where there's some models there, and he drops the photo in front of one of the models, and the model picks it up and says, "Who's this?" And George says, "Oh, that's my deceased ex-wife. She was a model." And all of a sudden, this model is all of a sudden attracted to George because George had previously dated models. So now this model feels like George is a good guy who is in the club of being able to date models. So now she's interested in him. And as funny as that episode is, the reality is business does work a little bit that way. If you companies are going to be skeptical of you, and people are going to be skeptical of you unless you can show work that you have done for other people. You have to build your own credibility. You have to build your own trust. And you can build that trust by creating great content and by showcasing the things you've been able to accomplish as an individual and as a company. And then that helps you become more attractive to those who you're going after. My number 7 tip, again, very marketing centric here, is to exude personality and tell your story. People love personality. They love to hear stories. Those are 2 very, very important things. And we make a lot of use of this on our own website. In fact, Steve and I were just talking before everyone hopped on about if you go to our site, 352media.com, there's a video right on the homepage where my business partner and I, with some personality, have kind of some interaction and some fun with each other and that type of thing while talking about what we do as a company. And people love it because the web and apps and everything like that, they can be a very nameless, faceless, almost sterile place. And so if you can look different and have some personality and have a story behind what you're doing, you're much more likely to be noticed and to have people remember you. So I think people love storytelling. it's a great thing, and also continuing to tell your story can get you some attention from the press as well, because the press likes to publish interesting stories about new companies starting and that type of thing. And of course, getting publicity in the newspaper or in online publications is a great thing to market your business. My number 8 tip is hire based on attitude, not skill. Fire based on attitude and skill. So, basically here, as your organization is growing and you're looking to bring people into it, attitude is first and foremost important. Hire based upon finding people with the right attitude. Because if you take a group of passionate, motivated people whose values align with your values and align with your company's values, so they're a really good fit, and that's really important. The fit's really important. If they're smart enough and driven enough, they can learn anything. Someone who's really smart and and has a lot of knowledge, but who doesn't have the right values and the right passion is not going to work. So I definitely orient your hiring process around finding smart people with the right attitude, because those are people who are really going to help your organization succeed. My number 9 tip is get to market, and I think this is certainly really relevant for what you guys are doing as entrepreneurs, and that's the whole concept of the minimum viable product and getting it out to market quickly. And I can tell you, in my business history, I made some really bad mistakes by holding things back and trying to get them perfect before getting them out to market, and investing way too much money before I get something out to market. I mentioned that I was involved with some online kids games, some virtual world websites, and what we did was we built this amazingly complex website that was this interactive online kids game, multiplayer. It was an amazing, amazing game. This is the map of the world. So that last scene you saw was like one of something like 50 or 60 different scenes inside the game. We developed all of that prior to ever launching it. It was in development for almost 2 years before it went online. By the time it went online, we realized as soon as customers started using it, as soon as kids started using it, we found that the game was confusing for kids. We found that kids, that their other competitors had already emerged on the market and had taken a lot of their eyeballs away from us. And we also found that the kids all liked hanging out where the other kids were inside this world, which was only a few scenes. So all of these 50 scenes that we created, most of them were going completely unused and were completely pointless. And it was basically a huge disaster. And it could have been a great product had we gotten it to market quicker. Instead, we built something amazing, but it was something that our audience didn't really care about at all. And had we had a minimum viable product, this company could have been really successful. As a result, this particular company is now out of business. And you compare that to another venture that I've been involved in. I took the lessons learned from this and started another venture called Social News Desk. Did the exact opposite. Said we're going to get this product to market in 6 months or less, and we're going to spend no more than $50,000 total till this thing is in market. That project has gone on to become a tremendous success because we saved back resources, and then as the market started to respond to the product, we were able to iterate upon it. Finally, culture, culture, culture. The company culture that you create, especially as you begin adding people to your team, is paramount to your success. Culture is actually one of the only things that your competitors cannot copy. Your competitors can copy your product if you give them enough time and money. Your competitors can copy your marketing campaigns. Your competitors can copy just about anything that you do except for your culture, because your culture is innate within your organization. So really encouraging your culture and being intentional about your culture, I think is really important to the success of your company. At 352, we do a lot of fun things to encourage it. We're kind of a fun company, so we do things like Field Day, where we take all of our employees out once a year and make them do 3-legged races and silly things like that. We do funny YouTube videos, which we have contests for employees to come up with funny videos. We use an internal social network called Yammer, which is a kind of an intercompany version of Facebook to keep everyone in touch and communicating. We give away badges, almost like Girl Scout badges, but whenever anyone does anything great, we give them a badge to commemorate the accomplishment. These are some of the different badges that we give out for different things that people can do. So that, these are all different things that we do to really kind of help foster our culture. And as you begin to add people to your teams, I would really encourage you to be intentional with your culture and make sure you're building up your culture in a great way. There's a study, some of you may be aware of it, what motivates employees, and pay is number 5 on the list of what's important. What's really important are number 1, interesting work, number 2, full appreciation of work being done, number 3, feeling on being in on things. Those last 2 are really related to culture. So building a strong culture makes a tremendous difference in retaining your team. And the last thing I'll say here before I'm going to take a couple questions and then I'll race through my other marketing presentation is this quote from Winston Churchill, which I think is a really good one for entrepreneurs. Courage is moving from failure to failure and not losing enthusiasm. So if you're an entrepreneur at heart, your first venture, whatever you're doing right now, may not ultimately be what makes you successful. But if you are an entrepreneur at heart, don't get discouraged and keep moving and not losing enthusiasm, and eventually you'll have the success that you wanted to have. So any questions about these tips or kind of anything along those lines?
Hey Jeff, this is Jeff Zaba. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. I thought that was a great presentation. By the way, it was very, very positive, which is real uplifting, especially on a Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. When we're all probably a little low energy. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you about was going back to finding a niche. Now, some people will say, find a niche and exploit that niche or work in that niche, and other people will say, throw it out there and let that niche find you and then work on that niche. What are your thoughts on the latter?
I guess it probably depends a little bit on what you're trying to do, but my question would be, if you just throw it out there, how's anybody going to find it? One of the great things about having a niche is that when you throw your product or service out there, you've now got a very specific group of people who you can go market to make them aware of your product and service. If you start with no niche at all and you throw your product or service out there, then how are people ever going to find it? So you have to have a really good strategy for that, and it's a lot harder to have your strategy work if you don't have a niche. I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs. I work a lot at the University of Florida, and a lot of entrepreneurs, they come up with like a great idea for like a new app or a new website or something like that. And I then ask them, okay, so how are you going to get people to find this and use this? And a lot of times they're like, well, we'll use social media. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? How many people are following you? How many people are you really connected with? How many people are really going to care within your circles? And even if you have 1,000 friends on social media, that's nowhere near enough to really launch, anything of significance. It will just fizzle out. So you need much more than that, and that's the tough thing. So if you've got a way that you could just kind of toss it out there and get a lot of user adoption, see who's using it most heavily, and then make that your niche, that's fine. But my only challenge to that would be, how do you get people to use it to begin with if you're not starting with a niche?
If I could maybe refine that a little bit, I guess, and I didn't explain it very well. What are your thoughts on picking 3 to 4 potential niches and going directly after them? Is that still spreading it a little too thin where you may not be able to?
That I like a lot. I do like that a lot because because then you'll learn what group of people things are taking the most hold with. So I do think there's a lot of value in that. But what you just said there is 3 to 4 different niches. So that's 3 to 4 specific groups of people who you can, who you can specifically target to, and you can do a little bit of targeting within each of those groups and see what kind of response you get, and then start to pay, put more and more resources towards the group who's responding the best.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, this is John Monteleone. I have a question for you.
Sure.
When you look at a niche, number one, how do you define your competition? And number two, how do you ascertain how they're going to, what their next competitive move is going to be?
I heard the first part. How do you define your competition within a niche? And then what was the second question?
The second, how do you ascertain what their competitive tactics will be once you enter the market?
I mean, honestly, I think it's just research. I mean, I think you can find a lot out by just searching the web and seeing who's out there providing products or services similar to yours, targeting the markets you want to go after. I also think talking to people within that niche group is very important. So I think if you identify, like, let's say you've got a product that you're going to target to law firms, to talk to attorneys and law firms and say, hey, here's my product concept, here's what I'm trying to do. Have you ever been approached with anything like this before? Are you aware of anyone else doing anything like this? I think that that's really important to do. And then once you kind of figure out who else is in the market, competitor-wise, research the heck out of them. I mean, some people may say this is a little bit unethical, so do how you want with it. But I would have a friend or colleague call that company and get a demo of their product, or get information about their, request information about their products and services, and get a demo and get their pricing and that type of thing. You don't necessarily have to do it yourself, because that is maybe a little bit facetious. But if you you could have a friend or colleague ask someone who is a lawyer who you're friends with, say, hey, do you mind calling these other competitors and getting them to give you their demo and giving me the highlights of what they've told you? I mean, that can be tremendously valuable information for you.
Great, thank you.
All right, so I have one more slide deck that I'm going to spend about 10 minutes on, and that is digital marketing tips. We are 352 is a digital marketing agency, so what we do is a lot of web marketing. So these tips are really surrounding building a presence for yourself to have success on the web. Whether you're really, no matter what type of product or service you're selling, having a website and gaining attention on the web is going to be important to your success. So I think these are fairly universal. So let me call that one up. There we go. Okay, so this is another top 10 list. I like top 10 lists, apparently. This is top 10 digital marketing tips. So number one, treat content like it is king. The web has moved to an environment where content is more important than ever before. And you have to have, people are going to find you if you have really good content. And what this means is, to create really good content, and there's a couple of reasons. First of all, content is king. First of all, content is king because Google says so. Google has done a series of updates to their algorithm over the last couple of years. Google Panda was one of the updates, and Google Penguin was one of their other updates, and Google is basically placing a lot more emphasis on fresh, relevant, well-written, high-quality content. That's the type of content Google loves to consume. So if you want to do well in Google with your search rankings, you have to have good content. So really putting focus on developing content is important. So there's a lot of different types of content. When I use the word content, it's very general. Written content is king for search engine optimization purposes. So written content is things like blog posts is a great way to get written content. Written content is information about your products, information about your services, information about your company, articles, news releases. That's all different forms of written content. So the more well-written, good quality content, the better for your marketing purposes. But there are also other types of content which can be very effective. And on the screen here, you see things like infographics, podcasts, and videos. All very important forms of consumable content that should definitely be a part of your online marketing strategy. Honestly, one thing as an entrepreneur I would consider doing is maybe bringing on an intern from USF or somewhere like that. That would just be their sole job would be to generate content. Bring on a journalism student or an advertising student and have them write content about your products and services that you're going to publish in blogs. You're going to try to publish in other people's blogs by having this person guest post on other blogs, etc. It will be a really good thing for your organization. And it's important. Quality content is important. As I mentioned, you don't want to put a lot of content out there that's just kind of low quality content. You really want to put time into the content you're developing. It's very important. So one key with good content is to create content that gives value. So as you're writing your content, think about what value am I giving to the person who's reading this. If you're just droning on and on about your products and services, you're not really giving the reader any value. But ways you can give good value when creating content is think that you need to give people things. That's the real key to it. You've got to give people things in order for people to want to consume the content that you're putting out. Now, what does it mean to give people things? That means to give them tips, to give them advice, to participate in discussions, to offer up content that is going to help them in their day-to-day life that people are going to find useful. Useful articles that people within the target industries that you're trying to market to are going to like and are going to want to read. Your content is giving them value. It's giving them things. Being a resource is a great way to give value. So being a subject matter expert on a subject that people within the target market that you're going after care about. That's a great way to write good content that's going to give value to your target customers. My wife has done a good job of this. I mentioned I'm involved in a product called Social News Desk, which is an online social media management tool targeted at the journalism industry. So a way for us to give good content to the journalism industry is my wife started a blog called Social Media Strategy for the Journalism Business. And she writes really good articles about things happening within the journalism business that are related to social media. She's gotten a pretty good following. She puts up a post and she gets several shares and tweets and that type of thing because she writes good content, and everyone who's liking it and sharing it are all target customers of hers. So it's a really good, way for her to get attention from the people she's ultimately trying to sell to by giving them value. You can also give value by doing creative things and showing people you care. This is a campaign that we did where we were using a tool called SEO Moz, which is actually a great tool if you're going to do online search engine optimization. And their website was having a lot of problems, so we sent them a Get Well Soon card. We took photos of everyone in our marketing team with this Get Well Soon card, and we posted it to Facebook and Twitter. Well, SEO Moz saw this, and they took photos of their staff with a sign saying, "Thank you, I'm feeling better already," and they posted it to their Facebook page and their Twitter, which then ended up getting a lot of likes and retweets, and actually got us a lot more followers on Twitter and everything like that. So you can do creative things like that. You can also ask people questions. We put out a blog post to our blog where we were basically asking people a question, and we got a lot of people who were tweeting about it, including some pretty popular people within our industry who were answering our question, and so we got a lot of kind of buzz on Twitter about it. So these are all ways that you can add value. I mentioned earlier one of my business tips is to exude personality. Creating content with personality. If your content has personality, if people are going to enjoy reading it and they're going to enjoy following you. So definitely make your content interesting, funny, memorable, etc. And there's some big companies which do a really good job at this. I'm not going to go through all these examples now for the sake of time, but JetBlue Airways, this was a great video campaign that Blendtec did. Southwest Airlines is another one that has great content with a lot of personality. American Red Cross has some funny content from time to time, certainly memorable. So once you get all this great content written, you want to build links to it, because incoming links to your website are ultimately the #1 driver for good search engine rankings. If you're writing good quality content and you're sharing that content with people, other people are going to want to link to it. Make sure you share it. Write a good article and share it with other bloggers. Share it with people within the industry and try to get links back to that article from others who might be interested in it. The more links you're gathering, the better your website is going to ultimately rank in Google. And as you're writing content, you really need to be thinking about keywords. You really need to be thinking about how might people find this content, how might people search for this content in Google. And so my next tip is to think long tail. Thinking long tail means that people's Google searches are becoming more and more sophisticated. So as a result of that, long tail means choose keyword terms that are several words as opposed to shorter terms, because people are becoming more sophisticated with what they're searching for. There's a good tool called Ubersuggest. I believe the URL is ubersuggest.org, I believe is the URL. And you can type in a keyword term, such as teddy bears, and it will tell you longer tail versions of that keyword that people are searching for every day in Google. So it will give you some different ideas of keywords that you might want to interlace throughout your content, because people are searching for all of these keywords. Have an impressive title. And what I'm actually talking about here is not your job title. I'm actually talking about the title on your web pages. The title tag on the web pages that you design, which is that tag that you see it like in the tab in the upper left of your browser, that is very important to your search engine rankings. You first of all want to make sure your title tag is unique on every page of your website. You should not have the same title tag on every page. And you want to make sure that that title tag contains your keywords that you're going after. And you also want a unique title tag for every page. So as you go through our website, here's an example. When you go to our page talking about social media, our title tag changes to talk about our social media services. Headline text on your pages. It's also very important to have good headline text and to have your keywords in the headline text as well. And the ultimate thing to do is what's called achieve perfect alignment. And perfect alignment is where your keywords, the keywords that you want to be targeting, your incoming links, people linking to you, they're linking to you using those keyword terms. The title tags on your pages have those keyword terms. The headline text on your pages has those keyword terms. And the content on your pages has those keyword terms. So if you can get good alignment with links and titles and headlines and content, all containing keyword terms, now all of this has to be written in a very natural way, so not to look spammy. But if you write it in a very natural way and sprinkle your keyword terms throughout, that's the ultimate alignment that Google is looking for to give you great search engine rankings. My number 8 tip is to make them get to give. So if you write some particularly interesting content, or you have some particularly interesting videos or something like that on your website, some of it, not all of it, but some of it, ask people to give their information before you give them that content. This works particularly well if you write like an ebook. I would recommend writing an ebook about whatever product or service you're trying to offer. Write an ebook, not about your product or service. Write an ebook that is information that would be really that your target audience would be interested in reading. So think about things your target audience might like to read and put some information in the ebook. So in our case, I might actually take this exact presentation you're watching, top 10 tips on digital marketing, and I might write an ebook about my top 10 tips on digital marketing. Then what I would do is I would put that ebook into a PDF, put it on the 352 website, but instead of just putting it out there for people to get, I would require people to enter their name and email in order to get the ebook. So make them get to give, make them get a little bit of information to get the really juicy content that you've written that you want to give to people. This then gives you a steady stream of incoming sales leads. People who may be interested in your product or service because they were willing to give you their information in order to read a report that indicates they're part of your target audience. Test and test. Whether you're doing a website or an app, user testing is extremely important to your success. And there's a great website called abtests.com. Again, the letter A, then the letter B, tests.com, and it shows amazing results such as this. This website, this page on this website, selling this bottle of wine, had a 12.5% conversion rate. Without changing the price, all they did was place more emphasis on the fact that the product was on sale, and it shot their conversion rate up from 12.5% to 31%. So doing A/B testing through Google Analytics and doing user testing will show you ways that you can get better usage and better adoption out of your app or your website. So it's definitely something you're going to want to do. Finally, be in movies. This is actually probably a pretty good segue to Steve talking, because Steve's got a background in video production and does a lot of work with creating movies through direct marketing. We are big proponents of online video, and it's easy to produce online video these days. You can buy a flip cam, film little video segments, and put together good online video pretty quickly. So I would really recommend incorporating online video into your website as a means to market you, as a means to talk about your products and services, and as a means to add value to your users. So again, thinking about the earlier tips of what does it mean to create good content, how about creating a video series about topics that would be of interest to your target audience? It's a great way for them to build a following and for them to consume what you're doing. So those are my top 10 tips, and I'm happy to take any questions on these here before I turn it over to Steve.
Hi there, this is John Montreal. My phone crapped out before I didn't hear the whole thing on the ebooks. When you create the ebook, where do you place it?
I would definitely place the ebook on your own website, and I would place the ebook, as I said, you want to advertise the ebook, you want to tease the ebook, say, free ebook on whatever the topic is that's going to be of interest to your target audience. And then in order for the person to get the ebook, they have to fill out a form on your website, give you their name and their email, maybe their phone number, maybe what company they work for. And then once they fill that out, it takes them to a page where they can download the ebook. And then that way you're building up a database of a target audience. Also, if you write an ebook and you have a page on your website promoting it, that's a really good thing to advertise through social media. You can advertise on Facebook and you can advertise on LinkedIn. Specific to your target audience, free ebook. So in our case, if we were to write an ebook on the top 10 digital marketing tips, we would then go out on Facebook and on LinkedIn, and we would run ads specifically targeted at marketing directors, because you can run ads by demographic on Facebook and LinkedIn, so you can choose job title. And so marketing directors who go on to Facebook or LinkedIn might see an ad that says, get a free ebook on top 10 tips for digital marketing. They click on the ad, it goes over to our website. On our website, it's they have to fill out a little form. It teases them with a little bit of content. They have to fill out a little form, and then they get the full ebook.
Great, thank you very much.
Sure.
Hey, this is Jeremy, and I wanted to reach out about if I should, say, give a free demo or maybe give out the service for free the first time, and then after that they have to register. I mean, is that something that would like kind of be a good marketing way to kind of, I guess, starting off giving your service away, at least for the first time, to see how they like it? Is that something you recommend?
It can be. Yes, it definitely can be. There's that's a popular model. It's called a freemium model is the term, where you give some of your product away for free, either for a trial period or for a a limited set of features, and then they have to pay to keep using the product, that type of thing. So it can be a good way to get a lot of user adoption and to get a lot of user feedback early on. Ultimately, do you want to have to do that forever? Probably not. You would like your product to have enough of a reputation where you're not having to sacrifice by doing that. But certainly in your early stages, if you're trying to get a lot of user adoption of the product, a lot of people trying it out and talking about it, and that's a fairly good way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe using number 8, make them give to get. Okay, get a free service by providing your information first.
Yep, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Good.
All right, very good. Well, I appreciate the time with you guys today, and I know Steve's got a lot of great stuff too. So, Sushi, do you want to turn control back over to Steve at this point?
Okay, sure. Thank you, Geoff.
Thank you very much. It was great information.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I'm going to stay on the phone here for a while, but if I can ever be, if anyone wants to reach out, if I can ever be of service in the future, let me know. You can contact me. My email is gwilson@352media.com. Again, Geoff is with a G, so gwilson@352media.com if you ever have any follow-up questions.
Okay, there's Steve's screen.
Can you see my screen, everyone?
Yes.
Okay. I've got a...
You're doing setup assistant?
Yeah. So I hope I set it up right. I just went with their defaults. So Geoff, that was awesome, and a lot of what I'm going to talk about will echo some of what Geoff said, but I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach. I'm going to really kind of focus on some tactical things right from the start and kind of jump right into it. I'll spend just a minute giving you a little bit of background about me, and then again, I want to get into some tactical things and roll from there. So I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm working on my 4th venture right now. I was fortunate to sell 2 of them. One of them didn't go so well. The only people that made money on that one were my attorneys and therapists. But the 4th one I'm working on right now, it's a company, ProspectSmarter, that provides sales software, sales support software, marketing software for mainly business-to-business selling, although we have a couple of business-to-consumer models as well, and I'll kind of talk a little bit more about how those work in just a minute. But the most valuable, I'm going to start with what I really think is the most valuable lesson that I've learned in business, and it was a mistake. It was absolutely, I got very, very lucky with this one, and it was early, well, when I started my first company was just when the internet was new, the web was new. It was 1995, 1996. We were doing application development and trying to really focus on internet technologies, and it's hard to think back to it now because it's so pervasive and everybody's familiar with it, and it's it's ubiquitous. But back then there was just a lot of companies, and I'm sure Geoff can remember these days, that they just didn't get it. And we were at the time a small company struggling. We had probably 15 employees at the time, and we were working 24/7, and every month it felt like we were just getting by. And by accident, I ended up with an opportunity to go pitch a project to Microsoft. And we were struggling at the point, this was early stage so bad, I'm flying up to Redmond to have this meeting, just in a really bad spot mentally, thinking, oh man, we're struggling to make our payroll, and I'm flying up to Redmond, got to pay for this flight, I'm going to get up there and these guys are going to think we're too small. And I got up there and I sat down with the decision maker and pushed the project across his desk, the proposal for the project, and he said, in less than 25 minutes, he said, you know what, let's do it. And he signed it, and I walked out, and I swear to you, I couldn't believe what had just happened. And something occurred to me at that very moment that's sort of been everything that has worked for me since. And what occurred to me at that very moment is not all prospects are created equal. And before going up there, a couple of things occurred. First, everything can change in a day. So we got that contract, and that contract by itself was probably 3 to 5 times larger than all of the revenue we were doing with all of our other clients combined. And again, that day I said, you know what? We're changing what we do. Geoff said early on, less is more and find a niche. What we decided to do was just intense focus. So there is in every market some version of the 80-20 rule, and the 80-20 rule, could be a 99-1 rule, but basically, in most cases, a very, very small percentage of whatever market you're going after represents the vast majority of the opportunity. And so what we did when we came back from Redmond with this account is a couple of things. First of all, we said, how are we going to deliver on this account? And the answer was we need to get rid of, fire in essence, a lot of the smaller companies that we were working with at the time to deliver this thing. But the other thing that we did is we said, if we could pick our next customer from anybody on the planet, who would we pick? And we, at the time, for those of you that might remember the program ACT, we had a couple of salespeople, and they had all of these contacts in ACT, and we were calling and doing everything we could to try to get out there. And we scrapped all of that in favor of a whiteboard that we posted in our conference room. And on that whiteboard, we wrote a list of 10 company names, and the people within those companies that represented the decision makers that we needed to connect with. And we wrote below that, with these people, we're going to get or from these people, we're going to get an order. And we'd say jokingly, it might be a restraining order, we're hoping for a sales order, but in all cases, we're going to connect with them, and they're going to know who we are. And now I know business to consumer marketing works a little bit different. I'll talk about that in just a minute. But the point I really want to emphasize is you can spend a lot of time with the wrong market or with the wrong prospects. If you aren't very, very clear on what it is that you're trying to achieve, and from a marketing perspective, and who it is that you can provide the most value for, it can be a very, very rough road. But when you really hone in on your niche, in this case, our niche we defined as 10 companies. And what we said is, we're going to sell to these 10 companies, and then we're going to go on to 10 more, and then we're going to go on to 10 more. And it absolutely turned everything around in a very relatively short period of time. What we were spending before in terms of time, money, and energy, we were giving it everything that we had and not getting where we wanted to be. So what we changed to and what we focused on was taking all of our resources, all of our time and energy and money, and focusing them on the smallest possible audience that represented the best possible potential. And you can do this by asking yourself one question. If all of you wrote this down and asked yourself this question, answered this question, if you could pick your next customer, from anybody on the planet, who would you pick? Now, in a business-to-business environment, that might be a company name and a decision maker within the company. But in a business-to-consumer environment, you can still answer that now. I'm going to flip over to another deck here real quick. So to illustrate the point, one of our clients today is National Geographic, and this is jumping into kind of some tactical, how in a this is business to consumer in their case, how it might work. But what we were hired to help them with was to drive viewership for Big Cat Week, which if you watch Nat Geo Wild is their answer to Shark Week, which is their competitor to the Discovery Channel's program. And specifically what they wanted to do was they wanted to promote Big Cat Week with videos that they would promote through social media. And now, again, what we do and what we focus on is not, how do we get in front of more people, but rather, how do we get the attention of the smallest possible group that represents the best possible potential, the 80-20 rule. And in their case, what we found out, or what we did was, get ahead of myself here. What we did was we identified 353 individuals who managed Facebook pages and Twitter followings and other online social media presences that had a combined 5.8 million followers. So these 353 individuals were individuals that had access to and/or could influence 5.8 million other people. And so rather than us trying to get in front of the 5.8 million, which wouldn't have been practical from all kinds of different perspectives, what we did is we focused on the 353 people that could make the biggest difference. And by just focusing on those 353 people, we were able to get thousands of people to respond. And what we did in their case, specifically the target audience was, or the target organizations and individuals were zoos and wildlife sanctuaries that were aligned with a nonprofit that was supported by National Geographic called Cause and Uproar. And so we just connected with those people individually, personally, through very, very personal communications, and explained to them, what the benefits were of Nat Geo Wild or the Big Cat Week getting more viewership. Advertising dollars would go up because viewership would go up, and a percentage of the advertising dollars went back to this nonprofit called Cause and Uproar that was sort of near and dear to the hearts of the people that we were reaching out to. Cause and Uproar is all about saving big cats in the wild. So this is a consumer example of how the 80-20 rule applies to reaching out to a market. If you think about marketing just in general and getting out there, especially if you're launching a new product, the most marketing, and I think the way that most people think about marketing is the goal is to get in front of as many people as possible, with the budget that you have. But I think Geoff said this in a couple of different ways in his presentation, that's really not the goal, or it shouldn't be the goal, because if you recognize that there is some Pareto principle that's going to apply to your market, where generally a small minority of your market is going to represent the vast majority of the potential. If you believe that that's true, and it is for most markets, the more people you get in front of, the more you increase the odds that you'll get in front of the wrong people, actually driving down your overall results. So it's critically important. It's subtle, and I think we are in a lot of cases looking at how other people do marketing, thinking, hey, this is the right way to do it. When it may not be. It depends on your venture. But I'm going to give you a couple of different examples. Like Geico, for instance. They've got a product that their market is massive. Pretty much everybody, not everybody, but the vast majority of adults are potential customers for insurance. And for the most part, their very best customer and their very their average customer, the delta in terms of the revenue value is not all that different. And so in their case, they need to get in front of as many people as they possibly can because their market is out there and it's everybody. In the case of most startups, that is absolutely not what you should be focusing on. You should be focusing on finding the one person in the very early stages, the one person that could change the game for you. And if you really focus on that question, if I could pick my next customer from anybody on the planet, who is it? Who is not the company, but who is the person that that could make the difference for us, and more importantly, that we could make a difference for. I mean, that's what you're really trying to do. Somebody asked earlier, how do should you let your market find you? And I would say, if you got a lot of time and money, maybe. In my experience, that is a very, very risky way to go. I say you absolutely, positively have to go out and find your customers, especially the early stage customers. And oftentimes, when you engage those potential customers, you might learn some things that will guide your product or your service in a direction that you might not have imagined early on. But you've got to get out there and you've got to talk to people, and you've got to connect with the people that can make the biggest difference. Geoff made a point that said, find those people who are skeptics. Those could be the people that make the biggest difference. Don't ask your mother, your brother, your sister what they think about your product, especially if they're not a prospect. Go out and find the prospects that are the most valuable to you. Prospects can be those people that become your customers. Prospects can be those people that become investors. Prospects can be those partners that you connect with that can spread the word. I'm going to flip back here real quick. So the marketing funnel that we're all used to, you put a lot of money and time and energy getting in front of as many people as you can. Broad reach is very high cost, generally very low response, but the most expensive part is that in a lot of cases the responses aren't the types of respondents that represent the best value in the market. That's very, very often the case. But if you flip the funnel upside down and you focus your marketing on the smallest possible audience that represents the best possible potential, amazing things can happen with very, very small budgets in a very, very short period of time. I'll give you an example of one. We launched a few years ago a product called Enthusiasm, which is a personal marketing system for reaching out with printed postal mail that ties back into personalized online video. And what we recognized early on by asking the question, hey, if we could pick our next customer from anybody on the planet, who would we want to connect with? And the answer in our case was companies that had big networks. And so LinkedIn was on the list, Box.net was on the list, in a number of other ones that were kind of similar. And so if you're familiar with Box.net, it's an online file sharing service. and we thought it would be a natural for somebody to share a file on Box.net and then want to send somebody an invitation to view that file using printed mail. And so what we did is we created a mailer that we sent to their CEO that had a picture of their lobby on the front of the mailer. So this is a mailer that went to one person. Okay, this was not a list. We handpicked this one person. We sent it in a see-through envelope, which is what allowed the personal part to show through. And so he gets this envelope and sees a picture of his lobby on the front. The idea is that, you know, if you don't get their attention somehow, it ends there. And we made the bet that, you know, when this guy gets a mailer with his lobby on the front, he's going to be curious enough to open it up, which he did. And on the inside, we created a message that invited him to go online and look at a personal video. And we had an idea about how Enthusiasm and Box.net could partner up. And so we didn't tell him what the idea was in the mailer. Instead, we invited him to go online and enter a code to see a video. The code was unique to the video. So when he went online to see the video was unique to that mailer, which was actually us talking to him, first person. You know, hey, Aaron, this is the idea. This is how it works. This is why we think it's a no-brainer for you guys. This is what we want to do. The 3 days after sending this mailer to him, he went online and viewed that video. About a month after that, we flew out to Palo Alto and signed an agreement with them. About 2 months after that, we had over 6,000 new businesses that had come from that one mailer that were clients of ours. It's that focus, and this is one example. It's the focus that makes the difference. It's the concentration on the smallest possible audience that's going to give you the most possible lift, especially in the beginning. And being small, Geoff made this point earlier, is absolutely an advantage. And I would go one step further and say being small without a whole lot of money to work with is an advantage, because without a whole lot of money to work with early on, it forces you to figure out how to be efficient and how to make the most out of what you've gotten. I've raised money for a couple of ventures, and I can tell you, it's a different deal when you have money. When you're forced to figure it out, forced to focus, the odds that you get something done that is amazing given the resources that you're working with are just incredible. And so I want to show you one or two more quick examples of this. And I'll do it. I'll show you another business to consumer example. So this was the same general concept applied to if you're familiar with the every year there's a Macworld show, which is the biggest Macintosh iWorld expo that Steve Jobs formerly used to do his keynote at every year. But what they wanted to do was they wanted to use their existing fans, so people that had regularly attended the show, that had big Facebook followings. They wanted to use them to spread the word online. Same general idea. What we did is, rather than trying to get in front of it, and they've got literally hundreds of thousands of people over the years that have attended these shows. So we weren't trying to get in front of everybody, but rather the segment of those people that had the largest Facebook following. And so what we did in that case was we targeted 775, or we targeted 775 previous attendees, and those 775 attendees ended up getting thousands of unique hits back to the sign-up page, and this was for a special event that they were running. But we made it fun, and we made it personal by reaching out to them. We used our Enthusiasm tool in this case. We reached out to them with personalized mailers that featured a screenshot of their Facebook profile page on the front with a link back to a site where they could log in and access links to share with their friends and followers on Facebook and Twitter, with an incentive so that every time somebody clicked one of the links to come back, they would earn points, and then those points could be redeemed or could be used to win an iPad. So we were incentivizing them to come back. But again, the same general idea here. Don't try to get in front of everybody. Try to concentrate on the smallest number of people out there that can make the biggest difference. And I'm gonna pause there because I think I've ran quickly through my 20 minutes and ask, does anybody have any questions or thoughts at this point?
Hi, this is John Montaleo. I absolutely agree with everything that you said, and your presentation was brilliant. I just want to add one thing to it. When we would go look at markets, we would break them down into structured and fragmented markets. The structured markets are those that fit Pareto's rule. The unstructured markets were the ones that you couldn't figure out who had a major market share. So what we would use is affiliates, reps, or any other marketing means that didn't cost us a lot of dollars to go after that segment. And that also helped us pose additional sales that we wouldn't necessarily get.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, John. In that case, those affiliates become your market. That is the segment that you're targeting. So, and that's very much what we were doing with like the National Geographic campaign. Our market was not the market, but rather the people who had access to the market. So
right.
the point that you're making, excellent point. In many cases, your market is maybe the affiliates or the people that know how to get to your market. That's a great point. But that becomes when you're concentrating and you're saying, if I could have a sales conversation with her, or if we could have our next customer, I'm using customer sort of, metaphorically.
Sure.
I mean, it could be partner, it could be investor, but who is the person that can make the most difference, that is also going to benefit tremendously themselves when it works. But excellent point.
Phone's picking up. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, say again? And any other questions or comments?
Hey, Steve, Mike O'Donnell here. I got a question for you.
All right, fire away, Mike.
Hey, so, I agree, but in that where it works, that strategy I think works really well in a B2B environment. But how do you focus on the smallest amount of people that matter the most when you have a consumer product? How do you know which ones matter the most when your product is so broad?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in a B2C world, there's a couple of things that you can do. I mean, generally the consumer market, you're looking for people who are influential. So in consumer marketing, like we've got a couple of consumer products that we market. The big variable is the cost of acquiring a customer. So to use an example like a mobile app, right? If you're selling a mobile app for $3 in the App Store, does it make sense to spend $10 to acquire a customer? And I'll put it out there. What do you think?
Well, no, but so the question is, how do you know who's influential in a consumer market? I mean, I understand how you know that in a B2B market, But then a B2C, how do you know who's influential when you're selling an app or a service on the web, or in Bobby's case, for example, you're trying to reach real estate agents. How do you know which consumers are going to be the most influential?
Okay, yeah. So like real estate agents, there's lists of top selling real estate agents, and going after the top selling real estate agents that have followings, that have blogs, that are out there talking to other people, and getting a small group of those targets together. So maybe you're targeting 50 or 100 people early on, but those 50 or 100 people are not randomly selected. Those are very strategically selected. They might be, and there's lots of like real estate blogs out there, and real estate informational sites. The people that are running those sites are the people that you want to target.
No. So I get that. So the point I was trying to make is, in that instance, you know who influential realtors are, and that's a B2B market. But for those who are buying houses, which she's also reaching that market, how do you know who the influential home buyers are when we're all home buyers?
So it might be, Mike, that your market is reaching out to partners that can get the word out. Or it might be that your market is reaching out to the investors that you need to get the money to do broader reach marketing. But the idea is that there's almost always a lever to the market that requires connecting with a much smaller number of people than most of us think. So in the case of like in a consumer market that is accessed through affiliates, reaching out to the biggest affiliates becomes your market. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and again, I'm just staging the question for the group to think about. So, and that's the same problem I addressed with Leaves.com, right? Because I'm going after a consumer market, and everybody has a life story. Well, so you can't just target everybody, because everybody has a life story. You've got to focus on some segment of the market that can have influence, and it may not be the end consumer, but it may be people who bring you the end consumer. So for Leaves.com, for example, we focused on people who are activity directors at active retirement homes, right? Because the people who live in active retirement homes are of that age and more likely to write their life story. So they were a channel to the market. So I guess what I'm trying to get across to the group and try to reinforce in your point, when focusing on the smallest segment that can bring you the most amount of customers, you're not necessarily focusing on the end customer, but you might be focusing on a channel to the end customer.
That's exactly right. Yeah, exactly right.
Okay. The influencers.
Yeah, the leverage, the channel partners that can get you out there.
Mike, I really appreciate that question that you asked, and it's really started to get my mind thinking a little bit. We were fortunate enough to have a couple magazines write about our technology. One was focused in the landscape industry, and another one was focused, believe it or not, in Italy on furniture. And when both of those websites wrote about the technology, we were, really bombarded by homeowners that used those websites as resources that they trusted to go use the tool that was recommended from it. So I think you've just given me some really, really good ideas about who to focus on and where these homeowners are going when they want to build or when they want to buy a piece of real estate.
Yep, that's the point I wanted to reinforce with Steve, especially when you're going. So very big different marketing strategy between B2B and B2C. B2B, you can focus on influential buyers that will bring you other B2B buyers, but in the consumer marketplace, you've got to focus on channel.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, and that becomes your market. The channel.
Then it comes to the point where you really are trying to market to two industries, of course, because we're giving the tool away to the consumer, to draw the mass up, and yet we're selling to the realtor and to the builder. So we're actually marketing B2B technology, but we're trying to bring, acknowledgement to the B2C world, so everybody kind of joins together. And it's just really been a hard route to go here.
Now, Bobby, you've got, so the strategy that you have to pursue is both a top-down or a bottom-up, which is also called the push versus pull strategy, right? So you're trying to reach the realtors and the home designers and the builders and those people, but you're doing it by pulling them. You're creating demand through the consumers as well. So you're pursuing a push-pull strategy. Well, in other words, a top-down and a bottom-up, and that's a different way to think about it. If you're rather than just going after the B2B side of your market. Does that make sense?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And in your case, do the channel partners push the marketing as well? Are you leveraging their marketing?
Not as much as I should. Actually, bloggers, and as I said, when someone finds the technology, they'll write about it. And as soon as they do, we get, we can tell. We can absolutely tell when it's been written about. It drives those consumers to it. So it builds up our download capabilities and things like that. But we haven't really connected the value of what we're doing on one site, which is kind of this free tool where people can visualize their home remodeling. We haven't really pulled that technology together correctly yet, so that a builder can really see the value of what we're doing. We've kind of almost segmented it and separated it. So because it was so difficult to explain, what's going on showoff.com and where these people are, uploading their photos and changing out things and seeing what they look like, and how does that pertain to a builder that's actually got a home plan that we're trying to turn interactive. So we're trying to understand how to talk to these, the B2B world and focus, which I heard loud and clear from the very first one, is focus just on that one channel and sell to them, and just let the consumer site just grow, and hopefully, we're trying to put it on the top 100 remodeling sites for free, so that they can give a tool to all of their users that come to their site. They've got a free visualizer now that they can use, and kind of build that up. But I'm not generating any revenue from that. That's just a free, cool tool that people are using right now that are writing about it. PC Magazine picked it up a couple years in a row, and it gave us a lot of exposure. But I'm not really getting any revenue from that site yet.
Well, that might be a different. I mean, it might be the revenue model. I don't know. It sounds like if you're getting picked up by by PC World, it sounds like you're getting the message out there, and people are using it. You're on the top 100 sites.
Well, we're trying to. I'm not in. I won't tell you I'm on all of them. I literally started with number 100, and I'm moving upward. So, and I'm doing that just in time when I have time, and I'm not actually out trying to sell to builders. So it's kind of a two-pronged scenario here. We've developed home design software for a number of years, and in fact, I know the founder of ACT. I remember, meeting them personally. So we've developed home design software for a number of years and had almost 900,000 customers that have used the tool. We moved it all online, and now we're trying to figure out how to make money with it. Well, before, people would buy it in the channel, in retail stores or whatever, and we'd get our, our money, and away we went. But I'm literally giving that same tool away now on a website, and I thought I could bring suppliers in and get those suppliers to be a part of that, and it really doesn't work yet. The suppliers, I don't have enough users. We may have close to 100,000 that have downloaded the app and are using it, but not on a consistent basis over the last 3 years. We've tweaked it and moved it around and done things with it to improve it all the time. But it really kind of just, every time I, add a new feature, we add it to show off so people can try it and use it and talk about it and generate. But we're really trying to focus our attention right now 100% on the builders and, of course, like you said, the realtors.
So is there one, if you were to prioritize the builders and the realtors out there, have you done that where you could say, hey, if I could have 10, who are the 10 that would make the biggest difference?
Yeah, that is such a great question, Steve. And yes, I absolutely know who they are. Absolutely know who they are. And I am right now at a point where I'm not going to them yet. This product that I'm talking about is probably not, I mean, it's so fresh off the demo world that it's not even, it hasn't even really even written the code yet. It's literally put together as a demo. And when I present it to a builder, I'm literally selling it and holding them back for 8 weeks before we can actually deliver it to them. So I know this product is right on. But what's happening too is those real estate agents are also seeing this technology, because a lot of times, those properties are on MLS, and so agents are very interested in putting their listings on, and that's a completely different price point. The product itself is very similar, but it's a completely different price point. So I finally just, within the last couple of weeks, decided to focus 100% on the builders, because we can get almost 10 times the amount from one builder for a home plan than we can from one realtor with a listing. And I'm going to bank on the fact that you guys are all telling us that focus on a niche. I'm going to bank on the fact that we get really good in this one niche and we get well known, and then it will just hopefully start to blend over into these other markets.
That's what I would do. I mean, absolute 100% focus, and not, I would even start with not just focusing on the builders, but who are the top 10 builders. Prioritize them, and say, and say, have a strategy for connecting with those 10 people, or the 10 people that can make the decision, or it might be a couple people within the organization, 2 or 3, whatever it is. But you got to do something that is going to really make you stand out with those people. Like when we first launched Enthusum, one of the things that we thought is, it'd be really nice if we got it out there in the social media world. So the question we asked, who are the most influential people out there in social media? And, one was like Chris Brogan, and he's got, like a gazillion followers. And so, we sent him, I don't know, half a dozen different mailers that, were all tailored for him. And he ended up picking it up and blogging about it and posting, and as a result of that, we got picked up by Mashable and Social Times and a half a dozen other places. But it was just one person. Our marketing was really for that initiative focused on, I want to say 6 people, but those 6 people were the top 6. And if you do that in your builder niche, you have in my opinion, the highest likelihood of the signal to noise ratio is just so high out there today that you've got to be able to just laser focus and do something that's going to really be different, to stand out. I mean, it's just too easy to get lost today. And if you narrow your focus on the smallest possible group, the options for doing creative stuff that are going to cause you to stand out go way up, because most people don't have the budgets to be creative with everybody and get to everybody in the market, so you're almost forced to prioritize.
Let me ask you a question real quick, and then I'll let someone else carry on their conversations too. But I'm a little leery of actually walking into what I consider the top 10 until I really have all my ducks in order. And so I'm kind of actually learning a lot through going to some of these smaller builders that if they buy it, great. If they don't, it's still okay. I'm learning from it. And that's kind of what I'm learning. Obviously, you don't see anything wrong with that at all, taking that first approach before I actually contact them. Or are you just saying, go for it and figure it out when you sell it?
Personally, I mean, we try to go to the biggest players, and even before the product is completely done, and sell them on the value of getting involved early. So a lot of the bigger players are looking for the competitive edge or the thing that's different. It's like investing in stocks. If you're looking at a stock that is just been featured on MSNBC, it's probably too late. So we sort of use that as our position, like, hey, this thing isn't done yet, but that's why we want to talk with you. And by going at it like that, what we've found is that we get a lot of, they sort of take ownership because it's not quite, it's not quite there. They're sort of involved in the process, and I think you can get a lot of mileage out of that. Don't try to fake it, or at least I would advise you not to. Tell them, Dropbox was a video when they had, millions of people that signed up before anything was built. As long as yes, yeah, Dropbox was a video. there was no code, initially, but it was a very crisp, concise. This is how it's going to work. And I don't know the exact number, but they got a couple million people that signed up, I believe.
Great information.
Yeah, and people love that. I mean, the internet's changed things. I mean, it's Geoff mentioned the long tail, and the book. If you haven't read that book, The Long Tail, it's great. But one of the quotes I really like in the book, he says, marketing used to be about dozens of markets of millions, and now it's about millions of markets of dozens. And what's happening is that the go-to-market life cycle is condensed to the point, it's so short that pretty much everybody is an early adopter. So where, it used to be, hey, we want to find the early adopters. The markets are so small that, that bell curve is it's just changed. And everybody is used to getting in early. I mean, the road has been paved for, it's not done. That's why you need to look at it now. Because when it is done, it's too late, and that might be 2 months from now. I think it's a competitive advantage for them to look at your product before everybody else knows it's out there. And I think the bigger players are very in tune to that today.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Mike, for bringing that up.
Welcome.
Yeah, great point, Mike. Thank you. Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Steve and Mike.
Any other questions or comments? Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. I will close with that then. I'll pull up my contact information. If anybody has questions, please email me, and I will do my best to answer those and answer them quickly. And Sushi, how do I transfer this back over to you?
Oh, let me do that. Change presenter. I'm not sure. Let me look. Okay, well, I think that did it. You just closed it out, so that's good.
I'm trying to transfer it back. I'm not sure how, but
yeah, I didn't see how either. But yeah, that should be good. Okay.
Great. Well, again, thank you, everybody. And if there's any questions that you think of afterwards, please don't hesitate to shoot me an email.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Steve and Geoff.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Good luck with everything.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
Good. Sorry I'm joining you guys late.
Okay.
You know, the problem with having a real job is you've got to actually be at work once in a while. So
Real job
anybody want
stinks.
to pitch or do you want to talk about something that you heard tonight?
Mike, this is John Monteleone. I just want to say both speakers tonight were excellent. They rated a 10.
Great, thank you, John. They're good guys. They're both lined up to be mentors for Founder Institute. So hopefully, if you get things going there in Tampa, you'll be able to tap into their expertise.
Yeah, I'm a good friend with Steve because he's been on Wave with me for about 5 years. So if you guys need a connection or something, I can always help with that. Steve's really good.
Yeah, they're both excellent, really excellent.
Yeah, Jeff's presentation was really good too.
In the end, you can have a great product, but it is about marketing and sales, right? Marketing will trump, good marketing will make for a lot of sin, even mediocre.
Yeah, I think I learned a lot, especially when you mentioned and Steve talking about the influencers in the, when you first pick your target market, go after the influencers. Yeah.
Yes.
That's.
Yeah. I'm going to brag just for a minute just because I'm so excited, and I hope you all kind of get to know me well enough to know that this isn't a common thing for me. But I'm really building up. In fact, I was going to suggest that although we're all entrepreneurs and we all probably should have the selling skills down pat, I think I've been, unfortunately, so in tune to development and talking about, issues that way with developers, and so my communication is a lot different than it is when I just go out and talk to a regular client or a customer. And I've been kind of losing a little bit of confidence in that because I seem like I'm talking way outside the realm of their understanding. So I need to get that kind of down to the level that we both can communicate, they can fully understand it. So I've been actually having a friend go with me on some of my sales calls and then critique me after it's over and giving me some ideas. Am I talking too much? And, am I really answering what they want? And how does this pitch sound? And so on and so forth. We fine-tuned it well enough that Friday, the very first customer that we walked into, I sold them immediately. I mean, within 10 minutes, that's how fast, and went back Monday to pick up the check. So it was very, very helpful to have someone help me or critique me. And I still feel a little insecure about, gosh, am I still talking the level that they need to and not getting into a level of, software sophistication that gets them, a little overwhelmed. So I still am really struggling with that and trying to learn that niche. But if anyone, would have a problem, and maybe you don't, but to me it really was a big eye-opener that I've been behind closed doors for so long that I had forgotten really what it was to sell and to talk the language that these customers need to hear. So for what it's worth, I was really excited.